It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
I said one more time for old time's sake.
With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law. Live audio wrestling.
And let's go. We're now smoking with the best.
Alrighty, it is the second hour of The Law, just after 1 a.m. Eastern, if you're listening live. Title about trivia in the next segment, so you know what to do if you want to place that phone call. And you were listening to the show, then you may have some of the answers. But right now, we head to San Jose and chat with the editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Dave Meltzer, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
We are all right up here. Now, Dave, we were chatting a bit on the show so far in regards to AJ Styles and the James Ellsworth stuff. So let's start there with you. He's in the walking boot. We saw him on the walking boot. Hopes that he is going to be able to wrestle this week. Have you heard anything in regards to how bad this injury is?
I just heard the injury isn't too bad, and it's...
What is it? Do you know?
What?
His ankle, isn't it?
Yeah, but what about the ankle?
Right ankle. I believe right ankle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard it isn't too. I mean, the fact that he was walking just a couple of days after tells me, it isn't that bad. He wasn't on crutches. He was able to walk out. I know that they were hopeful that he would be able to wrestle on it by Tuesday. So, I mean, it's like one of those things, and if he's not, it'll probably be fairly soon after.
Now, Dave, I mean, because he's a bit injured, if he does happen to work, there's an easy way of putting that title onto James Ellsworth in that match.
I know.
That's scary that I just said that, and all of you just kind of went, wait a minute.
Yeah, don't say that.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
That would be...
Well, they could do anything for 1 week, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I don't think that they will, but yeah, nothing would shock me.
It's a very strange. What do you see happening with him after? I mean, the blow off with AJ. Again, this is the question I always have: is what do you do with this guy when you're done with this program?
I don't know. I mean, it's like, okay, so he turned heel on Dean Ambrose, but this weekend at the house shows he was still a babyface. So I'm like, so it's like he didn't really turn heel. It's just very unique.
Well, the character's delusional, right, Dave? Like, he still thought he was going to be buds with Dean Ambrose, so he didn't really fully turn heel, and that's kind of what we found out on SmackDown this week.
Right. He's still a baby face, but Dean Ambrose wants to, but he screwed Dean Ambrose because he thinks he can beat AJ, and yeah. So, but again, you have that character. How long can you go with that character before it gets really old?
Exactly. It's already starting to smell stale to me. So.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have said that. Yeah.
Is the program going forward Ambrose and Miz for a while?
I don't know. It looked to me like that what they did on Tuesday. Again, it looked to me that was the start of a new program because Miz and Ziggler is over.
Finally,
yes.
And then where AJ goes, I mean, like, because the Ellsworth thing isn't going to be a house show program. AJ is going to be waiting for Cena when Cena gets back, which is right after Christmas. So that looks like where we're going, yeah.
How about this for Ellsworth? He wins the title for 1 week. Joe comes up to the main roster, beats the crap out of him, and wins the title.
Well, at the end, if that happens, we could at least say that something good was accomplished in its own weird way. And
well,
and then like AJ, AJ didn't lose it to somebody, and it's something, but somebody knew on top, and everything. He comes in on top, so you just came up with something maybe better than what they're going to come up with.
Well,
probably better.
I'm just using it as intro a question, and that is, after what we've seen with Nakamura and Joe, what we saw in NXT this week, and what happened in Australia, do you think this is finally the time where they're going to finally move Joe up to the roster, up to the main roster?
I think so because because now that they're going to show the cage match this week, and he loses the cage match. That's 2 straight losses.
Yeah.
So there's no, and Bobby Roode and Nakamura is the new main event program. There's nothing left for Joe. There's no reason for Joe to stay down. So yeah, and SmackDown needs him more than Raw.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think that's great actually. Yeah.
Dave, every week when we finish up with you, I talk about WrestlingObserver.com, and if you were to go there right now, you would see a headline of Chris Hero heading back to WWE. How quick will this be happening, and will he be maintaining Cassius Ohno as his name?
I don't know any of this stuff, so the situation, it's still, everything is like, it's in that process of, the medicals being worked out and, everything, all the checks being taken care of before anything is like official. So right now we're in that kind of like holding stage, I guess is the best way to put it. So it's usually in that stage, it's a couple of months. So, but again, I don't know. It's not like it's something that, I mean, I guess it could be tomorrow. I mean, if need be, I suppose, but usually that's what it is. And as far as whether it's going to be NXT or main roster, I would presume NXT, but I really don't know.
So what has changed in the mindset of Chris Hero and the WWE? Because the complaint that was about him was his physique, his body. And, we've since seen, obviously someone like Sami Zayn, for instance, or Samoa Joe, who don't fit your typical mold. Are they very much more accepting to this now, or was it also an attitude thing that has been rectified with Hero?
I never heard an attitude issue at all. So I would say that they are way more open-minded about different looks than they were, even like a couple of years ago when he last left. Yeah, I think that the fact that Kevin Owens got over so good, and also the fact that Chris, wrestled so great on these on the indie shows, and WWE pays attention to the indie shows now. I mean, before they didn't even care, and now, I mean, they scout the indie shows, and this guy tears it up every night, and you can't help but be impressed. So I think that it's, those are the two keys on why that they're interested in him again.
Now, Jay mentioned, Dave, about Chris Hero and his name that he had before when he was in the WWE. This idea of letting guys come in and letting them keep their gimmicks and their original names and stuff, do you think we're going to see a lot more of that now? Because it seems to be happening quite a bit with the NXT guys.
Yeah, I think that, once it happened with AJ Styles. It kind of, they go back and forth. I mean, if you've been following WWE for 30 years, I mean, every phase they went through where at one point it's like nobody's real name, even guys that were super famous. And then, like Barry Windham being the stalker and all that stuff like that.
Right.
When there was like no reason for it, and the only guys who got to come in like with their own names were like Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. And then, we went in with, the other phase where they tried to make it more real, and everybody used a lot more real names. So it just goes back and forth. Right now it feels like they're away from the phase where they have to give everybody a gimmick name. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. At least we're seeing more of it. Like, Bobby Roode and Nakamura are the perfect examples, whereas, when Kenta came in, he became Hideo Itami. They changed it. And that was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Finn Balor as well.
That's true.
From Devitt.
Yeah, that's another one, yeah.
And a good segue there, considering we're going to talk about Europe here.
And Kevin Owens instead of
Kevin Steen. That's true. WWE is holding a press conference in the UK. Now, what might they have on tap here?
That's a really good question. The indication I have is it's going to be some sort of an announcement of maybe a tournament with European wrestlers that they're going to put. Now, will that be for TV in Europe? Will that be for the network? It's something to do with a lot of, I think that you probably read about this, that they have been offering a lot of contracts to a lot of UK and European wrestlers. And I think that whatever they're doing has to do with that.
Well, aren't they a little bit scared too of the ITV project and how because don't they see that as competition?
Absolutely do, and I'm sure that the timing of this and the ITV project at the same time, I don't believe that's a coincidence at all. I think the ITV, the television taping, kind of spurred them on to something, where the idea is like, look, the UK is their number 2 market behind the United States, even ahead of Canada. And all of a sudden, if ITV puts wrestling on, I mean, that reaches so many more homes than they reach.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it's like somebody's got way more exposure than them. And I think that I can understand. They don't want that. They built the market, or so they're going to make moves now. And I think that Thursday we're going to find out what exactly those moves are, but we know they've been trying to sign a lot of guys, and I think that Thursday will have to do, will play a part in all those signings and everything and why those people were signed.
Do you think they'll actually work deals out with specific promotions, or will they just try to grab all the talent?
Well, I think that what they're doing is that they're going to try to sign up as much of the key talent as they can and allow them to work for the promotions that they want to be friendly with. I mean, they're allowing the guys' contracts allow the guys to continue to work indies but there's, they're not allowed, to keep them from going to Ring of Honor or keep them going from TNA. And there probably are other promotions. I'm not sure which other ones are going to be on that list. That, it kind of makes it to where a lot of these promotions will have to be on WWE's good side, because if they're on the bad side, then maybe they won't be able to get some of the talent that they were formerly using. It's, I don't know how it's all going to play out, but it's playing out right now.
Well, Dave, we'll get some of those answers on Thursday. And also on Thursday, there is a major event happening in the world of TNA. We actually have Jeremy Borash on in the next segment to chat about Total Nonstop Deletion. But let's talk about TNA as a whole here. After this special this week, they have a couple weeks off. And then we'll go back into tapings. And these will be the first tapings of the new regime and new ownership of TNA, also with the absence of significant people like Dave Lagana. Have you heard any changes that are looking to be made in regards to structure, format, stylistics of TNA/Impact Wrestling?
I have heard nothing about any new changes, no. That's going to be very interesting to see the first tapings, the new direction. It's still basically without David Lagana, but still, and Billy Corgan. So it's some of the same creative. Jeremy Borash is involved, and obviously Matt Conway, and as far and John Gaborik. But as far as I have heard no changes, I haven't heard anything about new talent. One would think that they would want some new talent in, but again, so much of the really good talent is signed to different places, so it's tough. It's a tough period because WWE's grabbed so much of the talent as compared to even a year ago. So we'll see, but. TNA for the first time in 18 months is on somewhat, looks to be on solid financial footing. And it's not like we're going into this taping going, are they going to die this week? Now we don't have to worry about them dying, the day before every taping.
Tonight, Dave, we also had John Jones and Dan Henderson wrestle, fight, grapple. etc.
Now, I have been gone, so I actually know absolutely nothing about what happened. What happened?
Oh, well...
John Jones won, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
John Jones won, and then he called out Chael Sonnen.
That's they're trying to do a lot of submission grappling shows, and, he should call out Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen will talk up the fight. It can be a rematch and everything. I know they were really pushing the idea that John Jones is an Olympic wrestler and he was the favorite, but I thought the age difference and the size difference was way too much for Dan Henderson.
Oh, you mean Henderson? They were talking that Henderson was the favorite because he's an Olympic wrestler.
Right.
Yeah,
but it's
backwards.
not 1996.
No.
Yeah, if it was 1996, he'd whip him. Because John would be about 12.
Yeah, John would be 12 years old. He'd have a really good shot at that point.
True.
Yeah, that's probably the only time.
Than that.
All right, I'm just still shocked that UFC allows this to happen. Like these guys
I'm so shocked that they do, because it's so much. It's their contracted guys being used on not on a almost like a pay-per-view on a streaming paid channel, and being marketed and being in a somewhat major arena, and it's like. I know. I talked to Brian Alvarez because he'd be more familiar with this, having been both a competitive grappler and a professional wrestler, and he says professional wrestling is way more dangerous. So in that sense, from the danger standpoint, because people are going like, why do they not let them do pro wrestling but let them do this? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, this is less dangerous, but it's still using their names for marketability, and that these are contracted guys, and it's just weird to me that. This happens, but UFC has so far not had a problem with any of these guys doing it.
Very surprising. All right, Dave, we're going to wrap for this week. Observer this week, though, what is in it?
That's a good question. Well, probably a big story on Mario Milano, who's one of the most famous wrestlers.
I look forward to that, yeah.
Yeah, actually, Mario Milano is probably the most famous wrestler in Australia. There were other stars that were as big as he was, but he stayed, like Killer Kowalski and all those guys.
Yeah, he stayed there, yeah.
Killer Carl Cox, Curtis Iokea, like those guys and Mario Milano, they were all huge stars in the heyday of Australian wrestling, but they all went home. Mm-hmm. And he was from Italy, then Venezuela, but he lived in Australia, and he stayed in Australia, got married, stayed there. So he became the icon that was always there, and whenever they need like a superstar on the local club shows, they bring Mario Milano out, and that type of a thing. So he was a
big name there.
Yeah, huge name there, and a story on that, and obviously on that incredible fight last night between Ho Choi and Cub Swanson. What an amazing
it was
fight!
Great.
And then just all of the other stuff that's going to happen as far as what's going to happen with James Ellsworth and AJ Styles and the new programs and everything like that. So yes, a lot of news this week.
All right, great. Well, we look forward to reading that, and we'll talk to you next week right here after Roadblock End of the Line.
Okay, have a great week.
All right, thanks. Dave Meltzer, WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find all of his great work. Roadblock, End of the Line.
I know. It's so
End of the line.
Stupid. It's so stupid.